My name is Kristen Poinar. I'm an assistant professor at the University at Buffalo. I've been here at UB for 2 years. I work in the geology department, and my research is on glaciology. I've been studying the Greenland ice sheet for 10 years now. Because changes in ice sheets translate directly into global sea levels. Ice melts, sea levels get higher. And rising sea levels affect literally every person in the world. Of course, it affects people who live near the coasts, because as sea levels get higher, not only are high tides twice a day higher, but hurricanes and storms that come through, they'll bring a higher and higher storm surge. And it's the flooding from these storms that really does a lot of the damage to coastal cities. In 2007, the fourth IPCC report had just come out, and it identified glaciers and ice sheets as one big unknown in the climate system. And this interested me, and I thought I'd get involved in researching glaciers and ice sheets. I also always remember that all of the goods that I consume, that we consume, a lot of the food that we eat, a lot of the products that we buy, are imported through ports. The ports in New York City and Newark, Miami, Oakland, California, and those ports are on the front lines of climate change and sea level rise sourced from glaciers. The first time I went to Greenland in 2008, there weren't so many people visiting, right? There were tourists, there were scientists who were there to study what was happening to the ice sheet. And so the airport was busy. There was helicopters, helicopters were going in and out 2 or 3 times a day. I went back my second time a couple of years later, and all the same people were there, but now there was a new population of mineral exploration. And they had lots of helicopters, lots of personnel. It really increased the amount of activity that we saw when we were there. As the ice sheet is decreasing in size and retreating back and exposing new areas, some of these areas are potentially places to mine minerals or oil. And so we have these international large-scale mining corporations starting to explore what the new Arctic has to offer. human carbon emissions is what's enabling the ice sheet to retreat and expose these new areas that might yield more oil for more climate change. As long as people demand fossil fuels, the companies will find a way to produce them. The option of accepting climate change is just going to get to be less and less and less attractive as the stakes get higher, as the climate continues to change and we start to see it affect us, and we start to see it affect our daily lives in more and more noticeable ways. It can be hard to see how your one little piece of glaciology that you're studying on a particular glacier in Alaska with a particular type of sediment that underlies it, fitting that into the huge global picture of sea level rise and climate change and climate refugees and destruction of ports, all of these things, you have to zoom way out to really see the context of your work sometimes. Policymakers, say certain congressmen who have their head in the sands about climate change and who deny the evidence that climate change is man-made and that it's a large problem that we need to deal with immediately. I've always wondered, how do they not understand? How do they not see the scientific evidence, which is overwhelmingly clear at this point and was overwhelmingly clear 10 years ago and 20 years ago? How can they look at that evidence? And they're educated people, they've seen the evidence. How can they see that and turn around and actively lobby for policies and actively make policies that are not helpful? I suppose their jobs depend on how their constituents see them. And that's its own question, is some people in the world don't learn from XY graphs, and they learn in a more intuitive way, or in a more artistic way, or in a more interpersonal way, and having themes translated through art is really valuable to help everyone's understanding of any concept, not just climate change or not just science in general. But the more ways that we as a society can tell things, then the more ways that everyone has to know it. I hate to see climate change as a political issue. Really what the political issue needs to be is climate-related policies. You know, getting climate policies to be a part of political conversations.